Alright, this is October 19th to the 23rd. So we're going to look at number lines and absolute value today. So the number line is a convenient way to visualize the order properties of real numbers. You've talked about number lines since you were probably in kindergarten. We can also visualize absolute value of a number. When it comes to a number line, this is the distance that this number is from 0. So for example, the number 7 has an absolute value of 7. Alright, so let's talk about how we write absolute value. When we want to look at the absolute value of something, we use these two lines. So if I want to know what is the absolute value of 7, then I want to know how far away from it is it from 0. And the absolute value of 7 is 7 because it is 7 spaces away from 0. So if I want to look at the opposite, what is the absolute value of negative 7? Once again, I'm looking at how far is it away from 0. Well, it is also 7 units away from 0. So my absolute value here of negative 7 is positive 7. So we look at absolute value as distance. Alright, so let's talk about how to find the distance between given numbers. Alright, so let's say that I have negative 9 and negative 3. My goal is to figure out what is the distance between those numbers. Well, I can do a couple of different things. I can draw it out on a number line. And I can count the distance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the distance would be 6. Or I can use absolute value to figure that out. So what I would like for you to do is, I don't think you want to spend time drawing number lines for every one of these, so you need to figure out how to use absolute distance. Alright, so let's calculate the absolute distance. So what I would do is I would take the difference. So I'm going to take the absolute value of negative 9 minus negative 3. Well, if I take this, that becomes the absolute value of negative 9 plus 3, which is the absolute value of negative 6. And negative 6 is how far away from 0? It is 6. Alright? So I can, like I said, you can do this two ways. You can draw it out on a number line, or you can find the difference meaning subtracting, subtract the two numbers. Alright, so what if I want to find the distance between negative 7 and 6? I don't want to spend the time doing a number line, so negative 7 minus 6. That is the absolute value of negative 13. Negative 13 is how far away from 0? It is 13 jumps away from 0. You should be able to order real numbers on a number line, whether these numbers are expressed as fractions, decimals, or mixed numbers. Alright, so the next thing we're going to talk about is how to show two fractions can be compared without changing them to decimals, because I don't want to spend the time changing these fractions to decimals. Alright, so how do I figure out that 23 over 36 and 15 over 24, how do I figure out which one is the biggest? Well, what I can do is I can find a common denominator. And that's what you're going to work on, is working on finding a least common denominator. So I've got 36 and 24. I need to start thinking about things they have in common. So if I list the fact of 24. And then I list factors, not factors, but multiples of 36. I will see that they have 72 in common. So I'm going to change it to 72. 36 times 2 is 72. So 23 times 2 would be 46. 24 times 3 is 72. So 3 times 5 is 45. Now I can see that, going back to my original fractions, that 23/36 is greater than 15/24. All right? And you're going to have to write out these greater than, less thans. All right? You're going to have to be able to do that. So make sure you're paying attention. All right? Let's look at another one. What if I look at negative 17/12 and negative 1 3/8? Well, so here's what I would suggest you do. I would suggest you change this to an improper fraction. So 8 times 1 is 8, plus 3 is 11. So now I've got negative 17/12 and negative 11/8. Now I can think about multiples of 12 and 8. The first one that I think of is 24. So I'm going to change them to 24. And they are negative. So 12 times 2 is 24. So 17 times 2 is 34. 8 times 3 is 24. So 3 times 11 is 33. Now, you're dealing with negative numbers, so be very, very careful about what you conclude here. Because normally we would want to say, well, 34 is bigger than 33. But because I'm on the negative side, which number is farther away from 0? 34 is farther away from 0. And remember, as you go to the negative side, the further down the negative side you get, the smaller your numbers are. So now, here's what I would say. That negative 17/12 is actually less than negative 1 3/8. It is actually smaller because it's further down away from 0. Alright, what if I don't have fractions? What if I have decimals? Alright, what if I want to compare decimals? Alright, so let's say that I have these two decimals. Here's what I would do. I would line them up. And make sure your decimals line up, because that's the only way you're going to be able to compare them. And then I would start looking. Same, 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 same. I do not change until here. So the third digit is where I start. The third digit after the decimal is where I have my change. 1 is less than 3. So therefore, this number is smaller than this number. So I would put a less than sign in there. Okay? But what happens if I have this? What happens when I have this? Okay? I can't line them up. I can't do anything with it. So here's what I would suggest you do. You can actually convert one or the other, I would suggest you convert 5/12 to a decimal. When I do that, 5 divided by 12, notice what happens here. I get a repeating decimal. So 5/12 is actually 0.416666, and I'm going to put those ellipse dots there, because if you remember, that tells me that they keep going on. So now I can line up, and I see same, 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 same. They do not change until here. 6 is bigger than 0, so 5/12 is greater than 416 thousandths. Okay? Alright, the last thing that you're going to have to do is you're going to have to find the median of a set of numbers. Alright? I'm going to give you an example, and then I'm going to give you a harder example, that way you can kind of see. But let's talk about what do I need to do for finding the median. The first thing I do is I add all numbers together. Excuse me. I had to sneeze. And then I divide by the number of items that I have. So, like I said, I'm going to give you one of the more difficult problems. So let's say that I have this set of numbers: 7/12, 5/8, 1/2, 13/24, and 2/3. In order to add these, I have to find a common denominator. Alright? So, let's find a common denominator. I have 12, 8, 2, 24, and 3. I would go to my largest number, which is 24, and see, does all of those go into 24? And they do. So this is where I'm going to get my new set of numbers. Twelve times 2 is 24, so 2 times 7 is 14. 8 times 3 is 24, so 5 times 3 is 15. 2 times 12 is 24, so 12 times 1 is 12. 24, this one doesn't change. 3 times 8 is 24, so 8 times 2 is 16. And now I'm going to add them all together. Remember, I do not do anything to my bottom number. It stays the same. Alright? And then I'm going to you know what? I'm trying to show you the average. We're looking at the median. I said the median of a number. Let's go ahead and finish this up, and then we'll talk about how to find the median. Alright? This is the mean. And I won't make you do this, but let's finish it up. So then I would do 14 plus 15, and I'm just going to get the calculator out so that way we can do this quickly. So I get 70 over 24. And I would actually divide that by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you remember to divide by a fraction, that's the same thing as 5 over 1 times 1 over 5. Alright, so I get 70 over 120, which would be 7/12. Okay? let's think about median for a moment. Median is the middle number. So to find the median, you need to arrange them from least to greatest. Alright, we're going to arrange from least to greatest. Well, I've already figured out common denominator, so now I can look at which one's the smallest. So 1/2 would be smallest. Then I would go 13/24. Then I'm going to do 7/12. Then I'm going to do 5/8. And then 2/3. And to find the median, cross off. So I'm going to do 1 here, 1 here. 1 here, 1 here. And look what happens. I have one number left in the middle, so that is my median. If I were to have two numbers in the middle, so let's say that there was one more here, so 1, 1, 1, 1, and let's say that I ended up with these two in the middle, I would add them together and divide by 2. Okay? So that's what your lesson is this week. Once again, if you need help, guys, reach out. You can email me, message me on Facebook, message me on Snapchat. The only thing is, you'll have to leave me a message if you call at school, and then I'll have to call you back.